Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are watching us. My name is Matt Bernier, part of the FanDuel TV crew, and we are looking forward to a big weekend of racing here in South Florida. Gulfstream Park, it is closing week of the championship meet, and that means it is time for the Grade 1 Curlin, Florida Derby. We're going to dive into the race a little bit here the next 15, 20 minutes or so before our shift actually starts at 12:45 on the East Coast. I need a little bit of help, though. It's not just going to be me rambling here. Let's bring in first Larry Collmus, who's at the FanDuel TV set currently just to my right, to his left. Larry, what's happening?
Oh, it's great. It's a beautiful day here in South Florida, and got the palm trees behind you there. We're getting ready for Florida Derby tomorrow. Can't wait. It's going to be really exciting.
Third member of the team standing by with special guests, Andie Biancone. And we're not going to waste any time. Andie, good afternoon. Let's get right to you because you've got one of the main players right next to you.
Matt, Larry, happy Friday. One sleep away from the Grade 1 Florida Derby. Shout out to trainer Joe Orsino because he is holding the phone for me right now. So not only can he train a Holy Bull winner, but, a man of many talents, he is holding the phone. But we've got his horse, Hades, who drew post position 2 in the Grade 1 Florida Derby. Obviously, our Holy Bull winner. This horse has done nothing wrong. He's shown that he has ability in many ways, and Joe says he's been training excellent into the race, so I'm really looking forward to seeing him. He is just happy as a little clam right now. He jogged yesterday morning, and this is a horse who loves to train. Joe said he just wanted to give him an easy jog day yesterday, freshen him up, and he was so mad that he didn't get to turn around and gallop. So that's always a great sign, horses who love their job and who feel good, and he couldn't look any better, Matt.
Larry, we talked about the post draw with this mile and an eighth configuration here at Gulfstream. Outside draws really up against it. Conversely, inside draws have a major advantage. Not only did Hades draw inside, but he looks like he could possibly be the speed in the race.
Yeah, as I've been saying all week, it was a hell of a draw for Hades when he got the 2-hole in this race because of his front-running style, that inside post, that quick run into the first turn. He should be able to be in a perfect position to be the one to go out there and be the one to catch in the Curlin, Florida Derby. I don't think he could have drawn any better than 2.
On paper, this looks like there are 3 main players and then the rest of the field, and that's not to be rude to anyone else, but when you've got Hades, who won the Holy Bull, you've got a horse in Conquest Warrior, who we'll talk about in a little bit, who's stepping up in class for Shug, and then the elephant in the room is the 2-year-old champion, Fierceness, who, while he was defeated on the square, I think it's fair to say, Andie, we didn't see the best version of Fierceness. I guess the question for Saturday is, what version do we get? Do we get the good Fierceness or the bad Fierceness?
I'm really concerned about Fierceness, Matt. Obviously, this is the 2-year-old champion, Breeders' Cup winner, but I have not seen this horse change physically from 2 to 3, and that in itself, coupled with the outside draw, is going to be something that this horse has to overcome. Obviously, when Hades drew post position 2, I got goosebumps for the Joe Orsino team because, like Larry said, like you said, Matt, it's just such an advantage to be on the inside. But contrary to what we see on form, I spoke to trainer Joe Orsino, and he actually says Hades does not need to have the lead by any means, which is awesome. We've obviously seen him flash his speed in the Holy Bull and the race before that, but he's not a need the lead type. So if other horses gun it from the outside, he can sit comfy. He still has enough speed to be forwardly placed and pick and choose, but it's such an advantage that he doesn't have to be on the lead and take all the pressure.
Larry, that was kind of when you and I perked up after Haiti came from way out of it, going 5.5 furlongs, and then he was up on the lead at 7/8. That was really, to me, the eye-opening moment, saying, okay, we've got more than just an average Florida bred here. This could be a legitimately talented racehorse as far as the graded stakes caliber is concerned. And we see right now, we're taking a look at the Holy Bull. Yes, the fractions were a little bit on the slower side, but make no mistake about it, the best horse this day won. And Larry, I think it's nice to know that if someone else is hell-bent on making the lead, okay, Hades can sit. If nobody else wants to go and they give it to him, we saw what he could do in the Holy Bull.
Exactly. That versatility is a key element to this race. I mean, the fact that I've just pictured him going to the front, but if Joe says he doesn't have to and somebody else goes out there, he's going to be prominent and always in a good spot. And, he has done absolutely nothing wrong so far. So you really have to appreciate the chance in this race.
Andie, we're going to let you run for a moment. Give our best to Joe Orsino and thank him for being the best cameraman that we have that's
Yeah,
not
Joe's poor Joe
currently
out here.
Hey, Joe.
Joe.
Joe, the people's hero. I know it is, right?
He possibly sit
He's a
one winner
great
tomorrow,
guy.
but in his off time, he moonlights as a cameraman. Let's talk about the other
That's
horse
right.
in
I
this
mean,
race,
don't
Larry.
forget.
And again, I hate to go ahead.
No, I was just saying, don't forget. I mean, everybody talks about, Todd Pletcher, Chuck McGahee. This guy won a Preakness. He won with Red Bullet. He's had a lot of good horses in the past, and he knows how to train. And I've heard that he's really high on Hades. So do not discount the chances of this guy.
Well, you brought up Todd's name. Let's bring up Shug's name because this is a horse that you and I have both been high on for a long time. That's Conquest Warrior. And Conquest Warrior is getting the acid test here on Saturday. He's just sort of incrementally taking those steps forward. This is his most recent run at 1.125 miles, perhaps one of the most important factors of this race that we're taking a look at. He beats a decent field. To me, it's more how he goes about doing it. I thought he was extremely professional here. He showed a little bit more ability to stay closer to the pace than he had in the past. Again, he needs to improve. That's really where it boils down to. From a gambling standpoint, he may not be a great price on terms of betting him to win, but I think you and I both agree, Larry. I don't want to speak for you, but I think this horse is going to run big on Saturday.
We've all met. And the one thing I really liked about this race was early on, Jose Ortiz went out of his way to get dirt kicked in this horse's face. Got him behind horses, put him through the ringer, and the horse was fine, absolutely fine. Didn't bother him one bit. And I think that is going to be very important because we don't know that about Fierceness. Fierceness seems to be the other way. The horse that doesn't like anything going the wrong way. Conquest Warrior, so far, he's been okay with it.
The other thing about Conquest Warrior, we just took a look at that backtrack, and a lot of people have kind of pointed to that race as why he may fit in here. Again, I don't want to speak for you. The race 2 starts back. To me, it was actually the race that sticks out like a sore thumb, and I mean that in a good way, because it was a day where you couldn't make up any kind of ground on the main track here at Gulfstream, and he had multiple instances of trouble coming from the back and still being able to win. That, to me, proved that this horse has legitimate talent. If you want to get involved in the conversation, you can fire away over at the TVG Facebook page or TVG_racing over on YouTube. Again, I don't want to make it sound as though it's a 3-horse race and nobody else has a chance. There are other horses that certainly need to improve. I guess one of the better options, if you're trying to fade the top 3 in here, might be Ladom Bro. Now, Ladom Bro, we most recently saw him in the Fountain of Youth. And Larry, the jury is out as far as I'm concerned on the Fountain of Youth. Dornoch was the heavy favorite. We had 1 million scratches leading into this race. And for a minute on the far turn, I thought Ladom Bro was actually going to win.
Yeah, he ran a great race that day. And, he stuck with Dornoch. That race was really weird with the late scratches, the scratches coming all day long and leaving leaving Dornoch as the heavy favorite. Ladom Bro ran okay in there. And his trainer, Ennio Cordero, only a 20-year-old guy. And this horse has really stepped up his game. So is he good enough to win the Florida Derby? I don't think so, but he could hit the board.
No, I tend to agree. I don't, in my heart of hearts, think he's good enough to win. But if you're trying to just play exactas, trifectas, superfectas, he's a logical contender to throw in there. And he'll be an interesting one to kind of get a read on the form of that Fountain of Youth, depending on how he runs on Saturday, because we're going to see Dornoch next weekend at Keeneland to run in the Bluegrass. He'll take on Sierra Leone again. So how Ladom Bro performs, maybe that's something that we can kind of use as a gauge going forward. We mentioned that we can get some folks involved. You check us out on our social media channels. Got some questions coming in. This one from Riva. So which Fierceness do you all think is going to show up tomorrow? Riva, it's the $1 million question because I don't think I'm overstating it. The bad version, the bad version is unlikely to finish inside the top 2. The good version might be 6 lengths the best.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the good version ran a monster Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He was incredibly impressive in his maiden win. The bad Fierceness ran bad in both those races, and if the bad Fierceness shows up, he's not going to win. If the good Fierceness shows up, yeah, he's going to be tough. But what Andie said was very interesting, and that the fact that she feels that physically he hasn't grown since 2, and that is a big deal. When it's the best effort you saw from him was the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and he hasn't developed any more, physically as a 3-year-old. Leaves you some doubts.
Got that question in from Shane. If Fierceness doesn't win, what do you think his odds will be in the Kentucky Derby? I guess, Shane, the first thing would be, if he doesn't win, how does he run? If it's a competitive race, I assume the connections will push on. If it's another subpar effort, I'd be stunned if they actually went to the Kentucky Derby with him, first off. But let's just assume he runs well, he loses, they go on. I still think he's going to take some play. 2-year-old champion carries some weight, having that moniker there. I could see him being in that sort of, if he loses, 8 to 10 to 1, somewhere thereabouts, maybe in that 4th or 5th choice range.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, that's tough to gauge. It depends on how he runs. If he gets into a brutal trip, terrible trouble, and finishes second beaten ahead, then he'll be one of the favorites in the Kentucky Derby.
I'm reading now in our private little side chat with our producer, Emily, that Andie is with a surprise horse. Who might this surprise horse be? We're waiting to see. Andie rejoins us. Who are we accompanied by?
Hey guys, I'm here with Catalytic. This is a long shot for you guys. Post position 7, going out for Team Safi Joseph. We saw this horse break his maiden nicely. Finished second, going 7 furlongs off the layoff at Tampa. Honestly, I know he's not really getting a ton of respect on the board, but he is a beautiful horse physically and big. So he might like this route of ground. I actually was driving to the Joe Orsino barn, and I saw Washawn Rochester, who is Safi's assistant trainer, and he goes, "What are you doing, Andie?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to Joe Orsino's barn." And he was like, "That horse isn't the winner." I said, "What? What are you talking about, Washawn? That's throwing some heat here." And he was like, "My horse is the winner. Trust me, he's going to get the distance." I was like, "Oh, okay, well, we got to pop by and check him out for ourselves." But super handsome, as you can see. He gave my back a little lick, so that was really sweet of him. Happy boy. But out of a distorted humor mare, so I could see some potential inkling for liking the distance on the pedigree. But physically, big horse, really nice.
Look, he's earned 77 buyers in each of his first 2 starts. I think it's important to note they were separated by about 6 months, or even more than 6 months. He debuted at the beginning of October. He came back at the beginning of March. And the thing I find most interesting about Catalytic, Andie and Larry, I guess I can ask you the same thing. Purely on numbers, stating the obvious, he needs to improve. The run at Tampa, he flew home. He made up the amount of ground in deep stretch that you don't typically see going 6 furlongs. I kind of agree with the way Andie laid it out. I don't think distance will be an issue for him. It's just a matter of, is this a little bit too much too soon? But he's another one at 20 or 30 to 1. Why can't he get a piece?
That is Andie trying to convert us to catalytic converters? Is that what this is about?
I like that.
He's
Well
trying
played.
to convert me.
I mean, his last race was pretty good. So we'll see if he can turn things up a notch and come up to the Florida Derby in great form. Because it's ripe for the taking. If a couple of these other big horses don't show up, you never know.
Andie, I know you're there with the horses, and we don't want to offend anyone that you've joined or maybe you've talked to. If I had to make you make a pick today, about, call it, I don't know, 30 hours ahead of the race, who was your pick in the Florida Derby?
Physically, I really like Conquest Warrior. You just know, Matt, how much I drool over that horse every time I see him. Obviously, with the outside posts, that is a challenge. The break, I was talking to Joe. He said the break is going to be everything, and I do feel like Hades is at a big advantage with post position too. But physically, Conquest Warrior is the best I've seen. No offense, Catalytic. You're the people's choice. He's like,
we have 1 vote,
so
Conquest
cute.
Warrior. Larry Collmus, who's the top pick?
2 votes, Conquest Warrior. We're sticking with him and hoping that he gets a really good trip in the race. I'm kind of rooting for Hades. I'm a Hades fan. I would love to see him win this race, but to me, it's going to be Conquest Warrior as my pick.
I will say, as the week has worn on, I've gotten a little more wary about, am I going the wrong direction? I love Conquest Warrior. He's going to be my pick. It's a clean sweep from us. But the vibes around Hades are making me wonder a little bit if I've underestimated this horse some.
Yeah, there's been a ton of talk about how confident Joe Orsino in that barn is when it comes to Hades, and I think someone said that Joe even said he'd be disappointed if he didn't win. So that's a lot of confidence.
Raid 1, a 100 prep leading into the Kentucky Derby. We will have live on-site coverage Dream Park, the entire team. It's the three of us along with Michael Joyce and Caton Bradar. We'll give you live on-site coverage of two major prep races, one for the Kentucky Oaks, that being the Gulfstream Park Oaks, and then obviously the Grade 1 Florida Derby, 100 points awarded to the winner. We'll find out if the two-year-old champ can get back on the beam and right the ship and assert himself as what would likely be the favorite for the Kentucky Derby, or will sort of the upsets continue on this road to Louisville? Because it's crazy to think about. We're only about 5 weeks away from the first Saturday in May. That's going to do it for us because we need to go get wired up. It's time to go to work. 12:45 Eastern, 9:45 Pacific. We kick things off here at Gulfstream on this beautiful Friday afternoon. Good luck today and good luck tomorrow